After the breakup ceremony was over, I lit a cigarette. The night air was still, heavy with the scent of her perfume that lingered in the room. Willow, my girlfriend, had insisted on ending things. I wasn't ready to let go. After all, when a woman's beauty can make you forget where the horizon ends, it's not so easy to turn the page. The quilt still held her warmth. I exhaled slowly, the smoke curling through the air like fading memories. You know, I said softly, Prometheus stole fire and gave it to mankind. She looked at me, puzzled, no idea where I was going with this. I smiled faintly. Since we've broken up, I said, could you at least introduce me to your best friend? That stopped her cold. The confusion on her face was priceless, like she couldn't tell if I was joking or had finally lost my mind. Her eyes widened. What did you just say? I repeated, slower this time, almost tenderly. Come on, Willow. Since we're done, can't you at least do me one last favor? Introduce me to someone new. My standards aren't high, just someone with big dreams and no sense, like you. The room froze. For a heartbeat, even the air stopped moving. Willow's chest rose and fell sharply. Then came that flash of anger, the kind that burns hotter than love. George, she snapped, I didn't realize you were that kind of man. I smiled, shook my head, and gently pulled her into my arms. Willow, I whispered against her ear, love shouldn't end with hate. If it's gone, let it go. But don't stop me from finding someone better. She shoved me away, eyes cold and full of disgust. You make me sick, she spat. I didn't argue. I simply slipped on my boxers, calm and unbothered. The angrier she got, the more I knew I'd hit a nerve. She expected heartbreak and tears, what she got instead was silence and self-respect. When I reached the door, I turned back one last time, smiled, and walked out. Not far from the apartment, a red Ferrari purred to a stop beside me. The window rolled down, revealing Sophia, Willow's cousin. Pure face, dangerous smile. Hop in, she said. Inside, the air smelled of citrus and secrets. Her sweater slipped slightly off one shoulder, revealing just enough to stir curiosity. She shot me a playful look. George, why not give it a try, with me? I chuckled. So fast. Guess Willow's already moved on to outsourcing her problems. 10 minutes later, we pulled up to a hotel. I took her bag, wrapped an arm around her waist, leaned close. For a second, she froze, then pushed me away, eyes sharp with judgment. And in that moment, I saw it clearly. Willow, Sophia, women like them rich, beautiful, untouchable. They lived in a world built on admiration. I was never supposed to be part of it. But I had something they didn't expect, grit. Strength. The kind that can't be bought. Maybe that's why Willow found me. Maybe that's why she fell for me right after her ex left. She was drunk, broken, and needed someone to fill the silence. I was there. She cried in my arms, and I became the bandage she never planned to keep. And I knew it. I knew I was just a stand-in, a distraction. But I didn't care. She was young, rich, beautiful, and for a while, she was mine. She spent the money, gave me gifts, attention, warmth. And I took it all, knowing it wouldn't last. Because sometimes, in this city of flashing lights and fragile hearts, a fleeting moment of love feels more real than forever. 6 months. That's how long Willow lasted before she finally called it quits. Honestly, I'd seen it coming. There's an old saying, give someone a pint of rice and they'll thank you. Give them a bushel, and they'll start to hate you. Kindness, when given too freely, turns into expectation. And once that happens, even your breathing starts to annoy them. My thoughts drifted as I stood there, holding Sophia's hand, about to step into the elevator. She suddenly stopped, turned toward me with that same look of disgust I'd seen before, the one that makes you feel like a bug under glass. I can't even bring myself to kiss you, she said flatly. Let's just break up. I blinked, speechless. Like cousin, like cousin. Sophia was even colder than Willow. At least Willow had the courtesy to enjoy the ride before deciding to crash the car. I sighed, slipped my hands into my pockets, and looked at her calmly. Do you know the story of Prometheus? I asked. The man who stole fire for humanity. Her brow furrowed. No reaction. Figures. Fine, I said. We can break up. But do me one last favor, introduce me to one of your best friends. Big boobs. Rich. That's all I ask. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then rolled her eyes. You really are exactly what Willow said you were, obnoxious, shameless. Jumping from one woman to another without missing a beat. I shrugged. Didn't argue. Just held her gaze, steady and calm. There was something about that silence that made her uncomfortable. After a moment, she gave me a mocking little smirk, pulled out her phone, and said, "All right, if you're so confident, let's see you prove it. I'll line up a few of my girlfriends for you. Let's see if any of them actually want you." Her words dripped with sarcasm. Then she turned, heels clicking against the pavement, and got back into her car. The Ferrari's engine purred as we drove out toward the suburbs. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by long shadows and silence. When we finally stopped in front of a private villa, Sophia stepped out first. As we walked toward the entrance, she tried to hook her arm through mine, acting like nothing had happened. I stopped her gently. "We've already broken up," I said. "Let's keep some distance. Don't want my future girlfriend getting the wrong idea." That hit a nerve. Her expression hardened, eyes flashing with disbelief. "What are you pretending for?" she scoffed. "Nothing even happened, and you're already acting like some saint." She brushed past me, muttering, "Ridiculous. What a joke." I just smiled to myself and followed her inside. In my mind, I made a little note, just like I had with Willow. Willow, 6 months of dating, spoiled, dramatic, soft-hearted. Sophia, 30 minutes, fiery temper, unpredictable. Not bad. 2 sisters, 2 stories. The villa was stunning, marble floors, chandeliers, every surface gleaming like it had never been touched. And there, in the grand hall, was a lineup of women. Each one looked like she'd stepped straight out of a magazine, long legs, perfect hair, that effortless confidence of girls who grew up rich and admired. Their eyes swept over me, quick and cold. A few whispered to each other. One said, "Your husband." Another replied, "No, yours." Then they all laughed, chanting it like a joke they'd shared 1,000 times. I didn't flinch. Just smiled lightly, scanning the room like I was taking in a fine painting. Different styles, different flavors, all stunning. And then I saw her. She was sprawled on a half-couch, phone in hand, legs crossed lazily in the air. Her skirt had ridden up just enough to flash a hint of pink. She didn't even glance up when I walked in. Just kept scrolling, calm, detached, untouchable. Perfect, I thought. Exactly the kind of girl who'd never give me the time of day. Sophia snapped her fingers in front of my face, breaking my focus. "Pretty, her," she teased. "Yeah," I said honestly, unable to hide my grin. Her lips twitched in irritation. "Keep staring, and I'll gouge your eyes out." She marched over and tugged the girl's skirt down with a scolding tone. "Alicia, still glued to your phone? You just flashed everyone in the room. That creep was staring right at you." And then, from the corner, a familiar voice. "Exactly. Alicia, have some decency." It was Willow. I froze. Of course. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. Sophia laughed, patting Alicia's thigh with mock anger. "Maybe you did it on purpose. If you like George so much, why don't you date him?" Alicia didn't rise to the teasing. She just locked her phone, lifted her gaze, and studied me quietly. Her eyes showed nothing, not interest, not disgust, just calm curiosity. "Him?" she asked softly. "As my boyfriend?" Sophia burst out laughing, nearly doubling over. "Yeah, don't like him?" Alicia leaned back, resting her chin on her hand, and with the faintest smirk, curled a finger at me. "Come on, then. Boyfriend. What are you waiting for? Don't tell me you're too proud to approach me. Or do I really look that bad to you?" For a moment, the room felt like it was holding its breath. I smiled, walked over, sat down beside her. The air between us shifted, playful, tense, electric. I slipped an arm around her waist, feeling the warmth of her skin under my fingertips. She didn't pull away. And in that instant, I couldn't help but think if this was how it ended, then maybe dying under a peony wasn't such a bad way to go. Alicia tried to dodge, awkwardly, but caught herself. She glanced at me sideways, chin tilted, pretending to be unfazed. Then, as if nothing had happened, she picked up her phone and started scrolling again. Laughter rippled through the room, sharp, mocking, like the sound of glass breaking. "Did this guy save your life or something?" Someone jeered. Another voice chimed in, "Please." Alicia's standards must have dropped to rock bottom. I didn't react. I just smiled and kept my eyes on her, the only person in that room who mattered right now. She looked down, eyelashes trembling. There was something almost shy about it. I couldn't help myself. I leaned in and brushed a light kiss against her cheek. "You're cute," I murmured. The phone nearly slipped from her hand. She wiped her cheek, stunned, but didn't lash out. The crowd erupted again, whistles, laughter, teasing. Willow folded her arms, her eyes sharp as broken glass. "Already moving on, George? Guess you really are the king of seamless transitions." Sophia laughed too. "Alicia, you should call me senior." He slid straight from me to you, smooth as butter. Alicia finally put down her phone. Then, to everyone's surprise, she wrapped her arm through mine. She tilted her head, studying me like I was something she'd just discovered at an antique shop. "So, you're George," she said, a small smile forming. "From now on, you stick with me." I bowed my head slightly, grinning. "Yes, milady." Willow snorted, turning away in disgust. Sophia muttered something under her breath, but the moment had already shifted. The energy in the room was different now, like a storm that had passed but left the air crackling. After that night, Alicia and I started seeing each other, if you could call it that. I wasn't really her boyfriend, I was more like her shadow. When she went shopping, I followed behind carrying her bags. When she had afternoon tea with her friends, I sat quietly, shelling nuts, pouring her coffee, passing tissues. When she went clubbing, I stayed close, not as a lover, but as her bodyguard, fending off men who didn't know when to quit. It became a rhythm, her world, her pace, her rules. On the fifth night, after another blur of music and neon, I drove her home. She was a little tipsy, cheeks flushed, eyes half-lidded. "Tell me," she asked suddenly, her voice soft, "am I beautiful?" I looked at her, the city lights flickering across her face, and smiled. I tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, my voice low. "When a woman bows her head and you can't see her toes, that's a beauty you don't forget. And you, Alicia, you're unforgettable." She stared at me for a long moment. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, "Kiss me." The car went quiet. Then I leaned in. The kiss was hesitant at first, soft, unsure, then deeper, more certain. The taste of champagne and something electric between us. By the time it broke, her breathing was uneven, her cheeks flushed. She pushed me away lightly, half protest, half surrender. The rest of the night blurred, laughter, whispers, warmth fading into dawn. When sunlight finally spilled through the curtains, Alicia stirred. Her first expression was shock, then a quiet groan as she sat up. The arrogance she'd worn like armor was gone. What was left was just a girl, tired, vulnerable, human. "Are you some kind of beast?" she rasped. I smiled faintly. "Good morning, milady. How do you feel?" She glared, pulling the blanket tighter. "There won't be a next time." "Of course," I said, though we both knew how fragile that promise was. Later, over breakfast, cream puffs, coffee, and silence, she finally spoke. "I can't do this anymore. We're done." She tossed 50,000 yuan on the table like it was spare change. "Take it. And get out." I caught her wrist before she could walk away. "Do you know the story of Prometheus?" I asked. Her expression twisted in disbelief. "What?" "He stole fire from the gods," I said. "For mankind. So, since we're breaking up, could you at least introduce me to one of your friends? Rich, playful, maybe a little dangerous." Alicia froze mid-step, staring at me as if I'd lost my mind. Then she laughed, that kind of laugh that's half outrage, half surrender. "You're insane," she said. "Completely insane. But fine. You want to play?" Let's see who burns first. She turned, ready to storm out, then paused, realizing. Wait. This is my apartment. She pointed toward the door, her voice trembling with fury. Get out, George. The door slammed behind me. For a moment, I just stood there in the hallway, the sound of her unsteady footsteps fading inside. At my feet sat a plastic bag filled with cash, 50,000 yuan. I sighed, picked it up, and wondered which bank opened earliest on a Sunday morning. Alicia, relationship duration, 5 days and 8 hours. A short but intense chapter in my ever-evolving story. She was fiery, unpredictable, and left as quickly as she came. Then came Seria, part of an ethnic minority, mixed blood, and radiating this boundless, anime-like energy. Being with her felt like taking care of a little sister who somehow stole your heart without even trying. She was sunshine wrapped in laughter, lively, cheerful, impossible to ignore. We spent our days lost in video games and snacks, playing for hours, sometimes till morning. She wasn't any good at it, not even close, but that was the best part. Every time she lost, she'd puff her cheeks and stomp her feet like a kitten throwing a tantrum. And every time, I couldn't help but laugh. Her bright eyes would light up the moment we won. Oni-chan, we did it, she'd shout, throwing her controller down and leaping into my arms, her tiny fangs showing as she grinned. She smelled faintly of milk and shampoo, soft, warm, familiar. It started so innocently, a hug, a laugh, a playful kiss, until the lines blurred and the world outside vanished. She was shy, hesitant, but there was always that spark between us. Even when she said, no, we shouldn't, she'd smile right after, teasing, daring. Days melted into nights. Nights turned into 2 whole weeks shut away from the world, gaming, eating, loving, existing in our own little bubble. Until one day, her friends dragged us out to a seaside villa. The beach shimmered with sunlight, bronzed skin, laughter, the smell of salt and sunscreen. It should have been perfect. But then, I saw them. My exes. All of them. Each with a new man by her side, taller, richer, cockier. Willow. Sophia. And even Alicia alone this time, lounging with her sunglasses, pretending not to notice me. But I felt her gaze. Their boyfriends smirked, loud enough for everyone to hear. Wait, this is your ex. What's he doing here? Delivery boys aren't allowed, right? Laughter rippled around. I didn't take the bait. I just smiled, turned to Seria, and whispered, this place is beautiful, isn't it? I've got an idea. I took her hand and led her away. She blushed, giggling, punching my arm lightly. We left them all behind, the noise, the judgment, the show. Because honestly, what was the point? I wasn't there to prove anything. I was there for her. Later, as the waves lapped at our feet, she pressed close and whispered, Big brother, they're so annoying. I squeezed her hand and said, then let's just treat them like background noise. And for a while, it worked. We built sandcastles, chased the tide, laughed like kids. Until a voice sliced through the calm. Seria. You done yet? It's been a month. Isn't it my turn now? I looked up and there she was. Maria. Leopard print bikini, red hair, a wild, reckless kind of beauty. The kind of girl who owned every room she walked into. I'd heard stories about her, the rebellious one, the protector, the one next in line once Seria and I ended. That night, the beach came alive with firelight and music. The guys grilled meat, the girls sipped wine and gossiped, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the bonfire. Even Willow and Sophia were there, their new men trying to impress them, flipping steaks like it was some kind of competition. But no matter how perfect the scene looked, I could feel their eyes on me, the silent challenge, the unspoken tension. And beneath it all, the same thought pulsing through my mind, another chapter's beginning. I just don't know how this one will end. Sophia wrinkled her nose. Honestly, no one wants your barbecue. It tastes awful. Willow laughed, adding, that just makes it worse. Even your girlfriend doesn't want to eat it. Their words rippled through the crowd like small waves of laughter, sharp, dismissive. But I didn't flinch. Let them talk. This food wasn't for them anyway. It was for Seria. I sprinkled on the final touch of my secret seasoning, flipped the last skewer, and filled a plate to the brim, golden, fragrant, perfect. Then I carried it over to where she was sitting, lost in her game, her legs tucked under her like a child. "Here," I said softly. "Try this." She looked up, blinking, then leaned forward and took a bite straight from my hand. Her eyes lit up immediately. So good. Big brother, your cooking's amazing." She forgot all about her game, eating one bite after another, cheeks puffed out like a hamster. I couldn't help but laugh. "As long as Seria's happy," I said, "then I couldn't be luckier." She smiled, that small, pure smile that could melt any defense, and nodded until her eyes turned into crescent moons. Around us, the teasing died down. The same people who were laughing moments ago now watched quietly, unsure what to say. Even Alicia glanced over, her expression unreadable beneath the flicker of the firelight. Sophia and Willow exchanged looks, setting down the food their boyfriends had grilled, their faces tight, eyes strangely distant. I noticed, but said nothing. I simply wiped the corner of Seria's mouth with a towel. She giggled, then leaned in, stealing a quick kiss, playful, mischievous. She even shared her drink through her lips. "Hey, there are people watching," someone shouted, half laughing, half scolding. The crowd erupted in cheers and whistles. Seria turned bright red, hiding in my arms, trembling with shy laughter. I leaned close to her ear, my breath brushing her neck. "How about we go back to the room?" I whispered. She nodded, arms sliding around my neck. I lifted her effortlessly and walked away, feeling the stairs follow us as we disappeared into the night. Later, when the room fell silent and the moonlight spilled through the curtains, Seria lay asleep in my arms, peaceful, exhausted, beautiful. I brushed a kiss across her forehead. My stomach growled in protest. I hadn't eaten much at the barbecue, and the night had been long. I slipped out quietly, barefoot, careful not to wake her. The beach was still alive, laughter, music, the sound of waves crashing against the shore. Some people just never slept. In the kitchen, I scavenged a few slices of bread from the fridge, biting into one when a voice broke through the quiet. "Well, if it isn't that guy," a girl said. I turned to see Freya, red lipstick, half smirk, curious eyes. "You took Seria back early. Let me guess, up to no good." I didn't answer. Just kept eating. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You really are something. Every time you break up, you've already got someone new lined up. What's your secret?" I said nothing, chewing my bread slowly. Then she tried to grab a piece. I caught her wrist midair, firm, quiet. "So stingy," she scoffed, then leaned against the counter, smirking. "You know, we all have a bet going, my friends and I. We're betting on who can last with you the longest." I swallowed, staring at her. She laughed. "You didn't actually think they meant it, did you?" I smiled, just a small one, shook my head, and kept eating. Her tone changed, intrigued now. "You're not even mad." "Wow." I shrugged, wiped my hands, grabbed a bottle of milk, and started walking out. Freya's smirk faltered for a second, maybe even turned to surprise, as I left her there, still trying to figure me out. Outside, I bumped straight into them, Willow, Sophia, and Alicia. They stood in the doorway like a wall of judgment, arms crossed. Sophia spoke first, voice dripping with mockery. "Out for a midnight stroll? Or did Seria kick you out because you couldn't satisfy her?" Alicia frowned, tilting her head. "Satisfy? What's that supposed to mean? Is that something you eat?" I slipped my hands into my pockets, looked them each in the eye, and said calmly, "What's it to you? If you're all here at midnight, doesn't that mean you're the hungry ones?" They glared, but I didn't stop. "And by the way, I'm your best friend's boyfriend. Maybe stop drooling over me behind her back, yeah?" Willow let out a sharp laugh. "Don't flatter yourself." Sophia's face turned red, her anger bubbling up. "Seria must be blind," she snapped. "How could she even touch garbage like you?" That hit a nerve, not with me, but with the others. Alicia's face darkened. She stepped forward and shoved Sophia hard. "What's wrong with your mouth?" Sophia stumbled, embarrassed, eyes darting around as Willow rolled hers. I didn't wait for it to escalate. I just walked past them, hands in pockets, heart oddly calm as their bickering faded behind me. Back in the room, Seria was still fast asleep. I slipped into bed beside her. Instinctively, she turned, curling into me, murmuring in her dreams, "Big brother, stop messing around." The morning sunlight found us like that, two quiet silhouettes in the warmth of a brand new day. Morning sunlight spilled through the curtains. Seria was already awake, lying across my chest, blinking up at me with that soft, mischievous smile of hers. "Morning, big brother," she said, her voice warm and teasing. Her finger traced lazy circles on my abs, her eyes gleaming like a cat that knew exactly how much control she had. "Hungry?" I asked, ruffling her hair. "Ham," she nodded. Then, grinning, whispered, "But I'd rather eat something else first." And so, once again, morning began in the only way it ever seemed to, with her, wild, breathless, alive. By the time we finally made it out of bed, it was almost noon. Seria clung to my arm as we walked out of the villa, the sea breeze brushing through her twin ponytails. Everyone else was already out on the lawn, sipping tea and chatting like they hadn't noticed the time. Freya looked up first, smirking. Well, look who finally decided to get up." Seria blushed and hid behind me, pretending not to hear. But we both knew the teasing was all in good fun. We'd been at the seaside villa for 3 days already. Then 3 days became a week. A week turned into nearly a month. Seria wasn't ready to leave, and honestly, neither was I. It was like she'd discovered a whole new world, and I was her favorite part of it. Every day, she'd pull me into some new adventure, some new experiment in laughter, love, or pure chaos. But one afternoon, her phone rang and everything changed. She hung up slowly, turned toward me with teary eyes, and fell into my arms. "Big brother," she murmured, voice trembling. "I have to go home for a few days." "I don't want to." I stroked her hair. "It's okay," I told her softly. "I'll wait for you." But then she looked up, her face brightening for a second. "Why don't you come home with me?" I laughed, shaking my head. "As what? Your boyfriend?" Her smile faltered. "Forget it then. My dad would probably break your legs." I knew it was the truth, and I didn't hold it against her. Some walls are built too high to climb. When she returned days later, she brought me gifts, clothes, snacks, little trinkets she thought I'd like. But she also brought something else. The end. Her father had found out about me. And just like that, the fairy tale cracked. He made her choose, and I wasn't on the winning side. The breakup was clean, decisive, even transactional. Her father's men showed up with a check, 20 million, to make things right. To make me disappear. And that's how our 2-month story ended. Quietly, imperfectly. Seria, the anime-loving girl with the soft voice, twin ponytails, and a heart that beat too fast for her own good. Gone, just like that. I drove away from the villa in a new luxury car, the trunk filled with boxes of everything she'd left behind. Memories stuffed into cardboard. Love, packed and sealed. And then there was Maria. She was nothing like the others. A wild thing. A hurricane in ripped denim and tattoos, the kind of girl who laughed too loud and burned too fast. Her world was neon lights and whiskey nights, clubs, bikes, friends with dyed hair and stories that always ended with, "And then we almost died." By the 3rd day, we'd drunk half the city dry. That night, in a private booth at some backstreet club, she climbed onto my lap and kissed me hard, reckless, tasting like smoke and liquor. "I heard you're pretty good," she whispered against my ear. I smirked. "Why don't you find out?" She did. Maria loved chaos. Every moment with her was a high-speed chase, no brakes, no caution signs. She lived for adrenaline, for the edge of danger. But her moods shifted like the wind. One day she'd laugh until dawn. The next, she'd break a bottle just to see it shatter. When she was happy, the world spun with her. When she was angry, I stayed quiet, waiting for the storm to pass. Then one night, she asked me to race motorcycles with her. I said no. Because I'd seen what happened to the girls who lived for speed, their Instagram pages turning silent, their smiles frozen in time. Maria ripped off her helmet, eyes blazing. "You chickened out." God, I've never dated anyone this spineless. I just looked at her, calm. Said nothing. She revved her bike twice, then tore off into the night. That was our first real fight. And the beginning of the end. The arguments came faster after that. Small things became big ones. Every no I gave her turned into a threat. You won't do this, you won't do that. Forget it, we're done, I sighed. Do you know the story of Prometheus stealing fire for mankind? She blinked. What? I mean, if you really want to break up, fine. But at least introduce me to one of your friends. You know my type. Big chest, rich, fun, hopelessly in love. She laughed, that sharp, disbelieving kind of laugh, then got on her bike and sped off again, leaving nothing but the echo of her engine behind. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. The story had already written itself. I sold everything, the gifts from Willow, Alicia, Seria, even the apartment Maria and I had shared. Added the cash, plus a few generous breakup compensations, and bought myself a new place, modern, quiet, high-end. That's when I found out my upstairs neighbor was Sophia. The first time we ran into each other was in the elevator. She stood there, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. What's this? Couldn't satisfy Maria, so now you're coming after me? I pressed my floor button, not even looking at her. She scoffed. Ha! You dog of a man. Keep dreaming. The elevator doors reflected her smirk, a perfect picture of pride and poison. Quit pretending, she said. Everyone knows what you're thinking. I just smiled, silent. The doors slid open. I stepped out. Behind me, her voice followed, sharp and taunting. Hit a nerve, didn't I? Why so quiet? When I turned, she was right there, arms folded, chin raised, glaring up at me. Not bad, she said, eyes scanning the hallway. You even bought yourself an apartment. And for a second, just one, her anger looked a lot like envy. I was about to unlock the door when Sophia suddenly grabbed my arm. What? Not gonna invite me in, she said, smirking. Afraid I'll find another woman hiding inside? I straightened my collar, trying to keep my voice calm. That wouldn't be appropriate, I said carefully. A man and a woman, alone, this late, it might give people the wrong idea. Then, with a half smile, I added, Miss Kim, please, have a little self-respect. I'm Maria's boyfriend now. If she misunderstood, it wouldn't be good for either of us. Her eyes narrowed. You think I'm trying to seduce you? I met her gaze, dead serious. Aren't you? Her face went red. What nonsense are you? Come on, I interrupted softly. Everyone can see through you, Sophia. Her jaw tightened. I insist on going in, she snapped. What are you going to do about it? I sighed. There was no point arguing. So, instead, I pulled out my phone and called Maria. After all, that's what a decent boyfriend would do, keep things transparent. The call rang and rang. No answer. So I left her a message. Sophia tilted her head. What are you doing just standing there? Reporting to my girlfriend, I said, my voice calm but sharp. Her best friend is trying to sleep with me. Her face froze, all color draining away. You're insane, she shouted, reaching for my phone. You think I want to sleep with you? You're disgusting. If you ever touched me, I'd call the police. But even as she yelled, her eyes couldn't help scanning me up and down. Before I could respond, the phone buzzed in my hand. Maria had answered. I hadn't even realized I'd hit call while fending Sophia off. I smiled, slowly, eyes tracing Sophia's figure as I spoke into the phone. Really? I said. Then tell me, why are you insisting on coming into my place this late at night? Sophia froze. You're disgusting, she stammered. Don't flatter yourself. On the other end, Maria said something I couldn't catch, and then the line went dead. I brushed past Sophia, walked inside, and started undressing. Behind me, she stood there in stunned silence. Then the fury hit. She stomped hard, spun around, and stormed out. The door slammed shut behind her. Seconds later, thud. Her purse hit the door, hard enough to shake it. I looked at the video doorbell screen. Her face was twisted in anger, frustration, maybe even a hint of something else. I couldn't help but laugh. A couple of hours later, my phone finally lit up. Maria was calling. But I was already asleep. When I woke the next morning, the screen was a mess, dozens of missed calls, over 100 messages. The last one had come just 10 minutes ago. I sighed, plugged in my phone to charge, and went to take a shower. Maria loved drama. It was part of her charm, but also the reason she'd never make a good girlfriend. I was starting to feel tired of the noise, the constant chaos. When I came out, towel over my head, the phone rang again. George. Maria's voice was sharp, accusing. Where the hell were you last night? Why weren't you home? I didn't even get a chance to answer before she said flatly, forget it. I already know you didn't touch Sophia. I paused. Oh. She told me herself, Maria continued. You didn't let her in. Guess you know your place. Still drying my hair, I walked to the window. So, are we broken up or not? That's not important, she said coldly. Just get back here. I need you. Then she hung up. When I got to her place, Maria was leaning against her motorcycle. Tight skirt, fishnets, cigarette between her fingers. The wind caught her hair, tossing it over one shoulder. The moment she saw me, she flicked the cigarette away, rushed over, and wrapped herself around my arm. Didn't think you really had it in you, she whispered, dragging me inside. The maid, reading the room, quietly slipped out. I caught Maria's hands and said firmly, Maria, stop. We already broke up. She just smirked, pulling me closer. That was anger talking, she said. Look at you, tense, frustrated. Let me help you with that. Before I could say anything, she pushed me down onto the sofa and climbed on top of me. The rest unfolded in a blur of heat, motion, and the sound of the sofa creaking beneath us. When it was over, she collapsed against my chest, breathless, skin glistening. George, she murmured. You're poison. Completely addictive. I didn't respond. Just smiled faintly and kissed her forehead. Then, as if nothing had happened, she slipped off me, gathering her scattered clothes, her tone suddenly light, casual. Oh, by the way, she said, fastening her dress. Seria's living nearby now. Why don't we pay her a visit? I froze. But Maria was already leading the way, her arm hooked in mine. Seria's place was only a few minutes away. When we walked in, she was sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by snacks and soda cans, eyes glued to the TV. She looked up, smiled faintly. Hey, she said, and went right back to gaming. Maria tugged me down to sit beside her, then, deliberately, leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder. Seria frowned. Maria smirked. Mind if I borrow your ex-boyfriend for a while? Seria's fingers froze. The controller slipped from her hands, clattering onto the floor. You're going too far, she snapped, standing up, hands on her hips. Maria just laughed, tracing circles on my chest with her fingertip. Seria's game restarted, its background music buzzing in the awkward silence. Finally, Maria stretched and said, lame. I'm out. She didn't look back as we left. Outside, our fingers intertwined, hers warm, mine cold. And just like that, the past and present walked side by side again. Maria's expression suddenly twisted with disgust. Look at her, she sneered, nodding toward Seria. That dumb gamer face, bet she's a dead fish in bed too. And you actually dated that kind of girl? You must have been desperate. In my head, I wanted to snap back, better that than a club-hopping wild card who spends every night in smoke and noise. But instead, I swallowed the thought and changed the subject. Let's just go, I said quietly. I haven't even eaten yet. Truth was, my stomach had been growling for hours. Riding with Maria all morning left me empty, drained. She didn't answer. Just pulled her arm free, walking ahead, her heels clicking against the pavement, sharp, angry, distant. Women's moods, I thought, impossible to figure out. That night, she didn't let me stay. And in that silence, I knew we were done. It didn't take long. The next day, Maria lifted her skirt slightly, pulled out a black card, and tossed it onto the bed. There's 5 million on it, she said. I'm bored. We're done. I didn't argue. Didn't ask why. Just nodded, pulled on my clothes, and reached for the card. But before I could leave, she crossed one long leg in front of me, blocking the door. Leaving just like that, she said softly, her tone unreadable. You really are heartless. I turned back to look at her, the same fire in her eyes, but dimmer now, almost tired. Lifting the card, I gave a dry smile. What can I say? Us disgusting men, once the pants are on, we leave. Wouldn't dream of bothering you again. For a moment, her lips curled halfway between a laugh and a scoff. Then anger took over. Fine. Perfect. I was only testing you, but I didn't expect you to be this ruthless. Get out. And if I ever see you again, I'll make sure my guys break your legs. I gave a polite nod, pocketed the card, and left. Behind me, something soft, a pillow, probably hit the door with a dull thud. Maria. 3.5 weeks of chaos. Wild, untamed, and gone just as fast as she came. I was tired, not the kind that sleep could fix, but the kind that comes when you've seen too much of the same story. So I stopped asking anyone to introduce me to new women. Sophia still lived nearby, which meant trouble, so I sold the apartment and moved to City C. A new city, new air, quiet nights. And eventually, a new girl. Her name was Anna. 19. A college sophomore. On Christmas Day, she handed me a pair of gloves with both hands, her cheeks pink from the cold. Gio, she said shyly. These are for you. Our fingers brushed, cold against cold. You made these? I asked. She nodded, eyes down. I was worried your hands would get cold. I smiled, brushed a strand of hair from her face, and kissed her cheek. Anna's shyness was soft, gentle, the kind that made silence feel comfortable. That evening, she tugged my sleeve. Gio, she said, her voice barely a whisper, let's not eat out tonight. I want to eat at your place. Please. The way she drew out that last word, playful, sweet, could melt anyone's resolve. All right, I said, laughing. What do you want to eat? As long as it's made by Gio, she said, smiling. I'll love it. Her eyes curved like crescent moons, her hands clinging to my arm as we walked. The car ride was quiet but full of tiny stories. She talked about her classes, her friends, the pranks they pulled on each other. Then she said softly, I miss you during lectures. I frowned, teasing, you think about me in class? You'll fail your finals. She pouted, tugging my arm. Then Gio will have to tutor me. I laughed. Of course. I'll teach you with care. She blushed. Gio, you're so bad. We stopped at a supermarket, grabbed some groceries, and headed home. I thought I'd be the one cooking, but Anna had other plans. Gio, she said, tying an apron around her waist, leave the kitchen to me. I learned from the housekeeper at home. Leaning against the doorframe, I watched her, sleeves rolled up, hair tied high, moving with focus and a little clumsiness. Then my phone buzzed. A new group chat. I raised an eyebrow, amused, and scrolled. Willow, Sophia, George, are you out of your mind? Alicia, it wasn't him. I made the group. Seria, waving kitten emoji, Maria, where's that bastard hiding now? Freya, Alicia, seriously? Why'd you drag me into this? Then Freya left the group. I chuckled and typed, ladies, what's the matter? I'm out of town, relaxing. Willow, as if anyone cares. Sophia, disgusting. Put your pants on and run, huh? Seria, big brother why didn't you invite me to relax with you? We could have gamed together. Maria, bet he's already busy flirting with some new girl. I smiled and sent a photo, Anna and me. JPG. Then I set the phone down and let it buzz itself to death. From the kitchen came Anna's voice, humming softly, off-key but warm. The smell of garlic and soy filled the air. She turned to me, smiling, a little smudge of sauce on her nose. Gio, it's almost ready. I walked over, wiped it away with my finger. She laughed, leaning against my chest. Am I good? Very good, I said, kissing the top of her head. Dinner was simple, 3 dishes and a soup. But the air felt full. Anna barely ate, instead resting her chin in her hand, just watching me eat. Gio, she whispered, eat more. You need your strength. Afterward, she stretched, said she smelled like cooking oil, and went to take a shower. I sat back on the sofa, the room still warm with her laughter, and finally picked up my phone. The group chat had exploded, hundreds of unread messages piling up like a digital avalanche. Alicia, is that girl even legal? Sophia, George, that's basically a crime. Seria, big brother tilde this sister isn't nearly as cute as me, right? Maria, a dog will always eat shit. I couldn't help but chuckle. Then I typed back, simple and calm, legal adult. 19. Thanks for the concern. And just like that, the chat boiled over. Sophia's name flashed on my screen, calling. I sighed, picked up. George, how could you be so shameless, she barked. A young girl like that. You're such trash. Her anger poured through the speaker, but I stayed still, unfazed, sipping my water before replying. Free love, I said softly. None of your business. If that's all, I'll hang up now. The silence on the line lasted just long enough for me to picture her expression, shocked, insulted. Then her voice came back sharp and brittle. You might fool others, but not us. You're just using her. She's young, easy to trick, you'll dump her the second you're bored. I laughed quietly, the kind that carried no warmth. Miss Kim, I said, projecting your own thoughts onto others is an illness. You should get that treated. And I hung up. The phone buzzed again, notifications spilling in one after another, angry, bitter, relentless. Except for one. Seria, who sent nothing at all. I set the phone down. Enough noise for one night. From the bathroom, the sound of water faded. Then Anna appeared, wrapped in a towel, hair damp and dripping, her cheeks flushed pink from the steam. Gio, who was calling? She asked, stepping close, her scent clean and sweet, like fresh soap and warm skin. Telemarketer, I lied easily, slipping an arm around her waist. Don't worry about it. She melted into me, soft and obedient, her voice a whisper. Gio, her eyes glimmered wide, trusting, almost trembling with something between innocence and longing. I leaned down, kissed her forehead. She tilted her face upward, lips brushing mine, hesitant at first, then deepening. The towel slid to the floor, and the soft glow of the living room lights wrapped us in warmth. Being with Anna was easy, warm, the kind of quiet joy that fills your chest before you even realize it. Before she graduated, she introduced me to her parents, kind people, polite but wary. They'd clearly heard things about me. Their eyes said what their mouths didn't. But in the end, love won. They trusted Anna's choice, and gave their blessing. The wedding date was set 6 months later. Anna clung to me even more after that. She had this way of claiming me, not loudly, not possessively, just small, sweet gestures that said you're mine. My phone wallpaper, my social media profile, even my desktop all replaced with photos of us. I knew what she was doing. And honestly, I didn't mind. When the date was finally close, I dropped the news in the old group chat, the one with all my exes. A simple message, you're all invited. Hope to see you at the wedding. For a few seconds, silence. Then, chaos. And yet, on the wedding day, they all showed up. Every single one of them. Except Seria. Each woman handed me a red envelope 88 million, just like that. Except Seria, who outdid them all with a villa, a whole house. And Freya, she arrived late, but she came too, dragging a suitcase. Inside, 5 kilos of gold bars. Generosity, guilt, rivalry, hard to tell which was which. I had them all seated together, of course. One table. The ex's table. Right beside the main one. And as I lifted my glass for a toast, I could feel it, the tension so thick you could wring it out like a wet towel. Perfume. Silk. Lipstick smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Big brother, Seria said first, her voice soft but trembling, congratulations on your wedding. Thank you, Seria. I smiled, raising my glass. But her smile faltered. Her eyes shimmered with tears that she quickly blinked away. Pretending not to notice, I turned to the rest. Willow twirled her champagne glass. Didn't expect this. 3 years of dating, and now you're settling down. Sophia smirked. Exactly. Why settle so soon? Haven't you heard, joy's meant to be shared? Alicia leaned in, eyes glinting. I'm the right age now. I can handle it. Let's get back together, okay? Maria, as always, didn't bother with pretense. It's not too late to ditch the bride. Come with me, I'll buy you any car you want. And then Freya cut in, arms folded. Didn't we agree the next one would be me? How'd you skip me, George? Anna sat beside me, calm and radiant. Her hand clung to my arm like a ribbon, her smile sweet but razor-sharp beneath the surface. Thank you, sisters, she said, voice like honey. Gio and I are so happy you could come. She paused, then added lightly, but, well, Gio belongs to me now. He appreciates your kindness, but that's all. A beat. Then, almost teasing, she added, if you really can't let go of him, I don't mind if you catch up with him after the wedding. I'm very reasonable, you know. The table fell silent. You could almost hear the sound of egos cracking. Maria finally broke it. So disgusting, she muttered. What a pretentious little coquette. I reached over, brushed Anna's hair with my hand, and said gently, there's no pretentious coquette here, only a thoughtful little sister. Unhappy glances flashed across the table. Anna tilted her head, eyes gleaming, voice soft but defiant. But I love Gio the most. Tilda. She looked sweet. Innocent. But her gaze was pure challenge. Maria snorted, crossing her arms. Scheming vixen. Already playing her tricks. And Anna just smiled, the kind of smile that said she'd already won.